Dear colleagues, good afternoon. I think to most of you, to most of the participants, good afternoon. We are starting the online capacity building workshop on sustainable renewable energy investment and deployment. This will be a peer learning dialogue on water energy nexus with a focus on the Caucasus, Central Asia, Southeastern Europe, and Eastern Europe. Welcome to all of you, and we'll probably have more participants joining in a few minutes. I would like to announce that this session, this workshop will be recorded, and we plan to upload the recording on our website after the end of the workshop. I would like to ask Eva to click to the next slide. These are very brief housekeeping rules. You can select your language channel. At UNECE, we requested services from UNDP Armenia to help us with this workshop with interpretation. So English and Russian are the official languages of this workshop. Colleagues from UNDP also provide interpretation into Armenian. You can select your language channel. I understand that Zoom doesn't list Armenian as a language, so those who would like to join that channel, they would have to click Japanese. Otherwise, you click either English or Russian, or if you would like to listen to the original audio, you keep it on off. You also have an opportunity to listen to the original and one of the language channels, but then you would have kind of a mix of two languages. So if you would like, for example, to listen to Russian interpretation all the time, then please mute original audio. That is another option in the menu. I'll stop there. I would like to ask all participants, when you are not speaking, please mute your microphone. I would also ask everybody who is not speaking, please switch off your camera. If you have your camera on, that limits the bandwidth. So please switch off your camera when you are not speaking. There is an option to raise hand when you would like to make a comment or ask a question. So please use that option when you want to make a comment. The moderator will see the raised hands and will call on the participants. Most importantly, please use chat function to ask questions and share comments. This is most convenient, and that will be seen by all participants. So please use that function to ask a question or make a comment, and the moderator will monitor what is happening in the chat. The housekeeping rules will stay on the screen. I will make a few introductory remarks, and I will try to be quite short in my remarks, quite brief. So welcome to everybody who joined this workshop. My name is Oleg Zubinsky. I am the Regional Advisor for Energy at the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. This workshop is another example of cooperation between the two divisions, the Environment Division and Sustainable Energy Division. And this cooperation has been long-standing, particularly on issues related to renewable energy and water, also on other issues, but since we are focusing on these two today, I will only mention those. Also, it's a very practical example of a Nexus activity. When we talk about water uses, when we talk about how water is used for energy purposes, but also for many other purposes, we need to take into account concerns of various stakeholders and also take into account economic, social, and environmental issues. This is, I would say, sustainable development in very real terms. Very briefly about my role in this event. As I mentioned, I am the regional advisor for energy. My colleague from the Environment Division, Sarah, unfortunately, she couldn't join this event because of other commitments. But both of us work under the UNECE regular program on technical cooperation. And under this program, regional advisory services are provided in various areas of UNECE activities. Well, in this case, specifically in the areas of energy and environment. And it is based on demand from eligible countries. Eligible countries are 17 countries, 17 UNECE member states from Southeastern Europe, Eastern Europe, the Caucasus, Central Asia, and Turkey. And capacity building workshops are one of the examples of the advisory services that we provide. Also, as a regional advisor, I support the activities of the Sustainable Energy Subprogram. And in this case, it's a direct support of the work of one of our group of experts on renewable energy. What you will hear today, I think I will finish very soon, but you will hear about the toolkit for integrated water and energy planning and project development. And this is a practical instrument for policymakers and experts, which we hope after you hear more about it today, you will also try to see what you can do with it, how to use it in practical terms. And with that, I will stop. And I think the next speaker is my colleague from the Environment Division, Annuka Lippanen. She is Environmental Affairs Officer, and she works for the Secretariat of the Transboundary Water Convention in the Environment Division. So Annuka, I'll stop here, please.
Thank you so much, Oleg. It's really a big pleasure for me. Thanks to Oleg and other Sustainable Energy Division colleagues for this continuing very good cooperation, and to UNDP for the support. I think the interest in this webinar really demonstrates that there's increasing recognition that energy-related and other sectoral environmental commitments, they can be better achieved through integrated and consultative planning, and both policies and investments need to evolve and improve. And we, of course, we stand ready to supporting these efforts. Number of participatory assessments of the water, food, energy ecosystems Nexus, looking at trade-offs and synergies, interlinkages between these resource management domains, have been carried out in the framework of the UNECE Water Convention, and they've helped some 20 countries in 7 shared basins to sustainably address the interconnected objectives of water management, energy, and environmental protection. And we of course, we cooperate with the UNECE sub-programs concerned, as in this case with our energy colleagues. And there are a number of examples, most actual being the Drina River Basin in the Balkans, shared by Bosnia, Herzegovina, Montenegro, and Serbia. And this has helped to bring energy, water, and environmental actors together and supported efforts to formalize river flow regulation, address erosion and sedimentation, which are of mutual interest to all these sectors, and also promote renewable energy investment. And also, as these two divisions cooperation in that project work, these multi-stakeholder renewable energy investment hard talks were organized in Bosnia and Herzegovina and Serbia. And in that, we very much appreciate the leadership of Admir Softic and Milos Banjac. And these hard talks had this Nexus perspective, and they pointed out various solutions, linkages, and very concretely what opportunities there are for intersectoral synergies, like energy recovery from wastewater, integrating microhydro into water infrastructure. And this this toolkit publication that we will hear about, and my colleague Lucia was really instrumental in developing that. It's a spin-off from those multi-stakeholder dialogues, and it's really, as Oleg said, it proposes a pragmatic approach to support policy making and even strategic planning also, and projects on renewable energies. And there's actually this toolbox to support countries in improving this integrated planning and sectoral coordination. Among those tools are several regional and global environmental conventions and protocols that UNECE provides secretariat for. And these, it should be recognized that these instruments, they don't prevent development. On the contrary, they provide clear, transparent, consultative procedures to achieve better informed decisions, to prevent disputes, to lead to better development paths, and promoting this kind of integrated approach is a real cooperation opportunity, and it needs to be recognized that more can be achieved with this kind of cross-sector cooperation. And across borders, also neighboring countries can profit from better energy security when different energy mixes are made efficient use of by good connectedness and trading. So this kind of dialogue of understanding where the opportunities are, this is very important. So all of us, we are convinced that there is a business case for orienting renewable energy deployment towards improved sustainability, more cross-sectoral, cross-cutting approach, and this should have a positive effect on bankability, but also, of course, social and political feasibility of renewable energy projects. And we look forward to seeing application on the ground of this toolkit that has been developed. Have a good session. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, there is a problem with the setting. Can you see me? Okay. I hope you see me well now. I tried to use this background, but it didn't quite work because my background is not uniform. Anyway, thank you very much, Anuka, for introducing me. And it's a pleasure to be here and present this work that is really a result of Nexus cooperation between divisions at UNECE, the Sustainable Energy Division and Environment Division. To introduce myself, I'm an energy and policy analyst, and I have been working as a consultant for the Water Convention Secretariat for several years now, working mostly on the implementation of Nexus activities and activities related to energy and renewable energy in particular. So first, I'm going to introduce the Water Convention work and say why we carry out Nexus activities, although Anuka already gave quite a lot of background on that. And then I'm going to talk about the Renewable Energy Toolkit. So next slide, please. Thank you. So the Water Convention is an instrument to promote development and stability in transboundary basins, and it does so by providing a legal framework of reference for the countries, but also an institutional framework that practically support the implementation of the convention. And in addition, there are several projects on the ground that the Secretariat supports, notably the Nexus assessments in transboundary basins, but also others related, such as projects related to climate adaptation and the development of agreements. The Water Convention was initially negotiated as an instrument for the UNECE region, but now it's, since 2016, is open to all countries, to all UN member states for accession, and it now counts 44 members, parties. Next, please. So why the interest in the Nexus, in the water, food, energy ecosystem Nexus from the side of the convention? Clearly, most of the issues that the countries face in transboundary basins arise from the problem that there is a common water resource that is used from different users, and these users need to be reconciled because a lack of cooperation can lead to frictions. So in practice, adopting a Nexus approach to transboundary cooperation means overcoming silos thinking in policy making on one hand and in natural resource management on the other. And in practice, this is done, overcoming silos thinking, this is clearly essential to reduce friction between sectors and countries, to reduce economic losses and reduce inefficiencies, and overall to enhance sustainability of development. And in practice, this is done by optimizing the use of existing and new infrastructure to provide benefits for different sectors and to lower the resource use intensity. And by Nexus proving the legal institutional policy framework in the different countries. So, of course, what is crucial here is to ensure that there is a functional information sharing and functional consultation in transboundary contexts, and that all alternatives are considered when planning for development. And then at the end, what really provides an opportunity is a discussion of the concrete benefits that arise from cooperation and building on them, creating strategic plans together. Next slide, please. So these are the Nexus activities carried out under the convention. First of all, there is, let's say, the broadest activity is the exchange of experiences, capacity building, and this is carried out under the in the framework of a task force on the Nexus that has been established as a body under the convention, and these is open to national authorities and to parties and non-parties to the convention, and representatives of government from different sectors. And of course, also to civil society and to Nexus experts and academia. Very importantly, the next meeting of the task force is this week, is Thursday and Friday this week, and I invite you all to participate if you're interested. The main topic of the next meeting of the task force will be on Nexus solutions and investments, because this is the main activity that is ongoing right now, and the final publication of this stock taking will be published in 2021. But right now we are in the middle of gathering this experience from different countries and different basins in finding, designing, and implementing Nexus solutions and investments of transboundary relevance. And I will also share a questionnaire with you in the chat. Well, just one thing more about this Nexus assessments that Anuka was mentioning before. These are implemented using a methodology that was developed under the convention again. Thanks. And in order to ensure that the participatory process of assessing the Nexus in transboundary basins is well connected to ongoing activities and cooperation processes. This is a very broad and very flexible methodology that can well be adapted. So this is for your information in case of interest in a Nexus assessment. Next slide, please. So why renewable energy? In this context is very clear. In the context of the Water Convention also, it emerged fairly soon in the meetings of the task force that renewable energy was a policy area where there were opportunities for more cooperation and for building up synergies across sectors. And also one thing is that all renewable energy has a transboundary impact. This is most evident for hydropower, but it's also true for other renewable energy technologies. And it's important to talk about it now to ensure that synergies are exploited and that trade-offs are minimized. And also hydropower is becoming increasingly controversial in some regions of the world. So it makes sense to discuss what is the competitiveness of it vis-a-vis other technologies that are becoming more cheaper and more widely available. So this cooperation between the two divisions of UNECE started in 2017 with the development of a policy brief on renewable energy, Nexus, and the SDGs. But then became much more concrete with the renewable energy hard talks that were mentioned before, that were of the series of the Sustainable Energy Division hard talks, but they were also follow-up to the DRINA Nexus assessment. So we had one in Bosnia and one in Serbia in 2018 and 19, respectively. The publication on the toolkit is a result of this and really reflects the discussion that was that we had at the hard talks and in the DRINA Nexus assessment participatory process. Next, please. So the basic idea of the toolkit is that we put environment and ecosystems at the center. The reason is that ecosystems support all of our activities, and without functioning ecosystem, the whole development idea simply doesn't work. So here you can see the scheme of our Nexus, and what is interesting is that several other organizations that talked about renewable energy development came up with the same conclusion, that the environment should really be at the center together with water, energy, and agriculture. So you can see ARENA that took it from a technological perspective. You can see WWF that took it from a conservational perspective, and also FAO that looked at livelihoods and rural development. Next, please. This is a screenshot of the Renewable Energy Toolkit, which is in practice is a decision-making support tool. So you will see in the next slides, I will show how to guide the process of dialogue across sectors. And for the different steps, we highlight the tools that are available. And I just want to highlight here that this toolkit is not comprehensive. We included several tools from the UNECE and from other organizations, but this is one of the ideas here is to really keep on developing this toolkit and making it a repository of all the tools available to achieve this cooperation more in practice. So the toolkit is divided into 3 parallel tracks, which are strategic renewable energy planning, sustainable renewable energy policy, and sustainable projects. The thing is, logically, this should be one after the other. A good strategy should inform good policy and good projects, but we know that these, in practice, these 3 tracks happen in parallel. So we made an effort to explain intersectoral cooperation and how it should be implemented along 3 parallel tracks. What is common among these tracks is that these are dialogues that need to be supported by a truly multi-stakeholder engagement process. So this is true both when we talk about strategy and when we talk about policy and interlinkages across different sectors at the level of policy documents and plans, and when we talk about specific project. So multi-stakeholder dialogue and public participation, this is crucial. Clearly, this toolkit is addressed to renewable energy policymakers, and it aims at evaluating, or rather Nexus proofing existing renewable energy policy or developing Nexus proved new renewable energy policies. Next, please. So this is the first track on the sustainable strategy. As you can see, I will not go step by step because it will take too long, and I think, no, I'm on time. So as you can see, this is a process that aims at discussing what are the areas in terms of zoning, really, where the renewable energy potential is higher, where it's lower. Of course, this depends on the technology and on the availability of sun, wind, hydro, etc., and matching them with the potential that having renewable energy developed in that particular area would have on the other sectors, see agriculture, see water sector. So at the end, this dialogue should have as an outcome a sort of mapping of win and win locations, lose and lose location, and win and lose location, which will probably be the majority and need to be evaluated through a serious consultation project to make sure that the negative trade-off is minimized. Next, please. Then there is a sustainable renewable energy policy process. So here we have the renewable energy policymakers engaging with the other sectoral policymakers and discussing what are the linkages between sectoral plans, evaluate these linkages in terms of synergies and trade-offs, and assessing in the existing policies, so in the energy policy and in the other sectoral policies, if these synergies are adequately promoted and if the trade-offs are adequately addressed. Then if yes, we proceed. If no, we classify what are the gaps and what are the barriers, and we address them by means also of consultation. So you can see on the right side, the sustainable assessment matrix, which is a sort of mapping of where these gaps and barriers should be, it should guide the mapping of these gaps and barrier, but then at the end, what goes there, it really depends on the specific case. Next, please. Here is just one example of how these would look in the context of consultation between renewable energy policymakers and agriculture policymakers. So you would have, for example, an identified synergy that is the possibility to deploy renewable energy panels on agricultural fields, but this will depend to technical specifications. So the question is the renewable energy policy actually incentivizing this type of technical specification versus others in the solar industry? And are there barriers that prevent farmers to implement such a solution, for example? And so on. Will not go into more details. Next, please. Then finally, we have renewable energy projects. This is very simple, but not simple, but basically it's a two-step process where on one hand, renewable energy policymakers create a favorable environment for sustainable project development, and on the other, they ensure that the private sector delivers on sustainability requirements and also on the Nexus priorities that have been identified in the previous, in the other parallel tracks. So here you can see 4 types of incentives that we identified for the private sector to stimulate the sustainability of their projects. So acknowledge industries' regulation efforts, allowing for financial diversification. This is particularly important when for example, feed-in tariff schemes cease, and policymakers could think of impact investment and benefits from implementing projects that provide benefits across different sectors. Then acknowledgement of corporate visibility also of a sustainable industry, and offering the possibility of transferring knowledge across the borders. This is very important, particularly when we talk about renewable energy deployment in transboundary context. Next, please. So some concluding remarks. Renewable energy deployment with water and environment benefits ultimately aims at delivering climate action. But what it means, what we're really, like let's say the conceptual background to this work is that we think of climate action as mitigation and climate and adaptation together. So we bring these worries of the different sector at the same table. So how to make the energy transition, but also how to adapt in the agricultural sector and how to improve water management in context of climate change. So of course, action is needed at many levels to ensure a coherence across sectors and to really find these synergies at the level of policy particularly. So, and to do that, we need many stakeholders to bring their perspective. So not just at the level of policy, but also from civil society and other sectoral group and other types of actors, sorry. So we really insist on public participation in this toolkit and this publication. Transboundary cooperation could really contribute to facilitate renewable energy deployment at a regional level, because it can help ensuring that this happens sustainably and efficiently. So now the question for you would be, is there interest to implement this toolkit in specific basins or in specific countries? And is there interest from partner organizations to further populate this toolkit, basically? And lastly, I would like to invite you to follow the events of the Water Convention on the Nexus, and in particular to join the upcoming meeting of the task force, which, as I said, will evolve around the topic of solution and investment at the cross-sectoral level, and there will also be a session on financing them. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lucia. Thank you for a fantastic presentation of the toolkit. Now we understood what does the toolkit do and what is its uniqueness, what's the uniqueness about it. For you, if you have any questions, we will have opportunity for Q&A session towards the end of the event. So think still, if there are some specific questions that you would like to ask Lucia, there will be opportunity later. Now we would like to start with a panel discussion. Let me navigate. My name is Iva Berkic. I work for the UNECE Sustainable Energy Division, and for the second half of the workshop, I will be your moderator. Today, as you can see, we really want to hear from countries. We want to hear from experts from the sub-regions, from the Caucasus, Central Asia, Eastern Europe, and Southeastern Europe, how this toolkit can be applied in their countries. From the slide, you can see that we are joined today, and I'm really grateful, with distinguished panelists from all across our regions. We have Mr. Constantin Gura, who is acting head of the State Agency for Energy Efficiency and Energy Saving in Ukraine. Constantin also is a chair of the group of experts on renewable energy. We are joined from Georgia by Margalita Arabidze, Deputy Head of Energy Policy Department at the Ministry of Economy and Sustainable Development. Margalita is also our Vice Chair of the Group of Experts on Renewable Energy. From Serbia, we are joined by Miloš Banjac, Assistant Minister from the Sector for Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy of the Ministry of Mining and Energy of the Republic of Serbia. Also Vice Chair from the UNECE Group of Experts of Renewable Energy. From Central Asia, we have a number of experts, good representation. From Kyrgyzstan, Tatiana Vedeneva, President of the Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Development. From Tajikistan, Furukhzod Usmunov, who is an International Energy Agency energy expert for the project European Union for Energy, and also country coordinator of the project KAZ 1000 in Tajikistan. And from Kazakhstan, we are joined by Janar Mautanova, who is Deputy Director of the International Water Assessment Center. So I would like to now invite panelists to answer some questions. The format will be, we will have 2 to 3 rounds, and we will give you all opportunity to share your interventions. I would first like to start with Konstantin Gura, who is also chair of the group of experts on renewable energy, under which auspices the water energy activities have been implemented. So let's, Konstantin, start with you first. You wish to first share some thoughts wearing your chair hat, and then you can share some thoughts later with us from the perspective of Ukraine, from your country perspective. The floor is yours, Konstantin.
Yes, dear Eva, dear colleagues, nice to see you today, nice to hear you today. I'm sorry, but I have to inform you that I have to go to different meeting in 20 minutes, so I will try to combine my my speech from the capacity of a chair of GERE and the representative of Ukraine. First of all, I am really very glad to be elected this year as the chairman of GERE, and I believe that this is a good option to launch an efficient dialogue between experts, and this dialogue should be dedicated to the best practices and knowledge exchange. And this itself, it's Nexus approach. Yes. I believe that in coming years we should to take maximum measures aimed to sustainable development. But sustainable development goals achieving is possible only through the efficient use of natural resources. And speaking about this, and speaking about GERE activities, I would mention that among of priority GERE activities is the following. It's implementing Paris Climate Agreement. It's facilitating regulatory and policy dialogue, determining the status of renewable energy development and tracking its progress in the UNECE region. It's promoting instruments for assessing renewable energy resources and support possible synergies between renewable energy and fossil fuels in the energy production. Because I believe that, of course, tomorrow we cannot go with 100% of renewables. So every time it would be a compromise, but of course we see the global trend of renewable energy development. And of course, it's and one of the tasks of GERE is to strengthen cooperation between public and private sector. Within these tasks, we have a work plan of GERE, and we need to break down these targets into small steps. Yes, and then we will be able to reach a real large-scale goal. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yes, when we speak about Nexus, I think that all of you are aware that the implementation of water, food, energy ecosystem Nexus approach can contribute for optimizing and the use of vital natural resources while addressing environmental needs and climate variability and change impacts. The meaning of Nexus is the connection between energy, water, and food. These actions is one sector commonly have impacts on the other, as well as on the ecosystem. And renewable energy could play a strong role in helping to achieve better management of resources within the water, food, energy ecosystem. And when we speak about Ukrainian case, I would say it's next slide. I would say yes. I would say that in view of importance of clean energy development, we should follow the Nexus approach. And following this approach, we have some real ambitious targets for our country. So we have national energy strategy till 2035. According to this strategy, we need to have 25% of renewables in our energy balance. This requires a pretty big number of investments. It's up to 20 billion euros. And I can report that within the last years, it was attracted a little bit more than 6 billion euros, which allowed to decrease natural gas consumption by 28%. And that gave us possibility to save 1.3 billion euros per year. And during last years, when we speak about electrical energy generation from renewables, it was installed more than 7 gigawatts of new renewable energy capacities. And when we speak about heat power, thermal power, it's almost 2.5 gigawatts of new capacities which produce heat power from alternative types of fuels, not using coal or not using natural gas. And so we can speak about water management as well. Yes, now, or you will give me additional word, Ivan.
I will maybe give you floor now since you have to leave.
Yeah.
So and then we will later try to integrate what you mentioned in other colleagues' interventions. So please carry on, and then I will give floor to Margarita. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan. Yes, speaking about water management, it's next slide, I think. Yes. So from the start, I would say that up to my knowledge, water management. There is existing water framework directive which was adopted in 2000 year. This document, I speak about Europe now. This document defines the basic principles of water resources management and ways to achieve good water quality and safe condition of river and reservoirs. When we speak about Ukraine, we have State Agency of Water Resources of Ukraine and State Service of Geology and Subsoil of Ukraine. And SAE, I'm representing State Agency on Energy Efficiency, so we are cooperating with these entities in order to find the balance, let's say, between water management issues and energy production issues. Speaking about practices of basin planning in Ukraine, I can mention about 2 projects is on Tisa River and Dniester River. One of these projects, just for an example, is Donica project. In this project was developed in cooperation with 4 countries. It's Hungary, Romania, Slovakia, and Serbia. The main goal of the project is to further improve the integration of water resources management and food prevention planning. Speaking about water management, I would say that it's not a question of the one country. Yes, it's everyone should understand that it's a matter of cooperation of set of the countries, because there is no borders for this issue. And speaking about toolkit, what you present, I would say that we check up this document. We found it really interesting and really important. I believe that this document could be a base for further development of Nexus approach. Thank you.
Thank you, Konstantin, for your intervention, and thank you for sharing your thoughts on both as in your role as a chair of the GERE, a group of experts on renewable energy, but also as a representative from Ukraine. You zoomed through clustered questions that we shared with our panelists. We will leave you now to join another meeting, and I will ask another 5 panelists to go back and to the first cluster questions, and then we will feed it together with you, Konstantin, on the 23rd, on Friday, into the task force meeting.
Thank you. So I'm still in contact with you and everyone from this meeting via email. You know my email, so please feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we will again reiterate that we invite everybody to engage in our activities under the group of experts on renewable energy in the future. Thank you, Konstantin. Let's travel now from Ukraine to Georgia. So Margarita Rabidze, let's now turn to you. Maybe now on base what you heard from Konstantin, and please stick to the first 2 questions, to the first cluster of 2 questions. What is the situation in Georgia? How is it different when it gets to the renewable energy deployment from, how is it different or similar to what we just heard from Ukraine? Margarita, the floor is yours.
Hi, and hi everyone, and good afternoon. First of all, and let me introduce myself. I am Margarita from Georgia, from the Ministry of Economy and Sustainable Development. Thank you so much, Enriba, and for your question. I will try to say a few words about and answer from my side. What is the status of renewable energy in my countries? And as I mentioned, and Eva, and historically, and the most of energy generated in Georgia comes from renewable energy. And for besides it wasn't mostly and from hydro, and currently this year the renewable energy is a generation is about an 80%, and from which and 79% and is from hydropower plants and 1%, and from the first pilot wind power plants and wind installed capacity of 20 megawatts. Regarding to the hydropower plant, at the moment there are 115 operating plants with the installed capacity of the more than 3,000 megawatts. Also, I would like to highlight that there is an impressive number of renewable energy plants on a different and plus development, namely in 116 hydropower plants, 18 wind power plants, and 5 solar power plants. As you can see, our major strategy is the development of the local renewable energy. Currently, there is only 22% for hydro and potential utilized. Therefore, the integrated and planning and the set will and support and sustainable development of renewables is really important and for us. We think and maximum utilization of the local renewable energy is our priority, it's energy security and so on. Due to the different factors such as international obligation or just an effective utilization and management of the local renewable sources. When it comes to the development of hydro projects, our ministry, it's close cooperation with the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Agriculture in this regards, and such kind of integrated and planning is supporting the sustainable and renewable energy development. As you know, and most of renewable energy projects are built in the rural area. Therefore, on a different stages and of the project development, the local population and involvement, such as in construction stage or operational stage. Therefore, in having such facilities in the rural areas and makes and financial and creation jobs as well as social contributions that local and citizens will not need to move to the city to find jobs, and the village will not become a handout. Based that and while constructing the plan relevant infrastructure, such as roads and high tides and water and any others, is also deployed and which can also be of common interesting for both sides. Concerning to the renewable energy project sustainability on the regional level, in my personal opinion, it's dependent on the complex approach, and namely all the major stakeholders on the regional level, among which are renewable energy projects. Investors should have agreed on one approach how to use and management the availability and resources. This way, use of the resources will be and optimized for all the users of the resources. One of such approaches can be based on level planning and basing level planning, and has been opportunities not only for renewable deployment, but for other sectors that are dependent on water resources such as agriculture, fishes and water supply, industry, and others. Therefore, in current and basic.
Margarita,
Yeah.
let's then please first build on what you're doing in resource renewable energy projects and how you're implementing and taking this cross-sectoral approach, and the level planning, basin level planning we will address in the second round as indicated on the slide. So let's first hear also from other colleagues from Serbia, from Central Asia, what approach are they taking in an integrated planning to support deployment of sustainable renewable energy projects. And then we will again hear from you. We will invite you to shed some more light from your experience, from your country's experience on the basin level planning. It's really impressive to hear what you mentioned, that almost 80% of energy mix is coming from the hydro in Georgia, and that actually only 20 to 22% of the hydro potential is utilized. This is information that I learned from you before. So this is something what it's interesting to understand how there is a different approach in Central Asia. So let's explore that with other panelists. And I'm also, I noted that Georgia is taking integrated planning approach for sustainable development of renewable energy through cross-sectoral cooperation. Let's hear from Miloš Banjac from Serbia. What's the situation in Serbia? Would you say that the local potential is adequately recognized and used? Are the decision makers adequately addressing it, or are you experiencing still some bottlenecks and challenges? Miloš, the floor is yours if you can hear us.
Thank you, Eva. Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to welcome you in my personal name and the name of Ministry of Mining and Energy, and of course, Republic Serbia. Konstantin and Margarita give very good overview of situation in their country. I will be so free to speak about situation in all countries of Southeast Europe, because we are in very similar situation. We are geographically located in Europe, but only some of the countries are member of EU, as the most development part of world. Others countries who are not members of EU want to be that, and at the same time, we are not member of EU, but we all other are member of energy community. This is one organization established or founded in 2005 by European Commission with the aim of harmonizing the energy sector of all countries of Southeast Europe with the energy sector of EU. Later, Moldova, Ukraine, and Georgia joined this group, this organization. What does it mean, harmonization? Among the other things, implies commitments to increase share of renewable and decrease consumption of energy or increase of energy efficiency. Following this regulation, we have undertaken increase of renewable energy sources, and in 2030 adopted renewable energy action plan as all other EU country and also country of Southeast Europe. And our starting point was relatively high in this moment in all this country. For example, Serbia share of renewable was 21% in final energy consumption. And if we speak of electrical energy, it was 27-28%. But After that, after we adopt that action plan, I can say problems start, because in the same time we have relatively high industrial development, and from other side we try to increase share of renewable. And what's happened at the end, we didn't reach that goal, but in this moment we have more than 6,000 megawatts new electrical power on the grid, compared with 7,000 as was before complete production or complete capacity of our energy sector. It was a good result, but not enough to increase that share of renewable energy. If we speak about our future plans and what we do now we are in the phase of preparation an integrated energy and climate plan as new obligation to energy community. I think that almost all other EU countries prepare that integrated energy climate plan. This plan is new plan for development and transformation of our energy sector, but this time taking into account reduction of CO2, environment protection, increasing of share of renewable energy, and increasing of energy efficiency or reduction of energy consumption. So in this moment we are working on that. We use the Times. This is software who usually use Times or Primes all other EU country, and we believe that to the end of next year we will prepare that plan. And that's for the first.
Thank you, Miloš. And then I see that the plans is in development. There are ambitious targets. You are working hard towards developing that roadmap for Serbia to achieve those targets. But are you seeing any bottlenecks, any challenges? Are you, and I'm also now slowly planting the question for Tatiana and Vedeva and Fergus, who will come next and talk a little bit also situation in Central Asia. What challenges are you facing? What are maybe some policy gaps that you're facing? Is there a need for awareness rising, legislative frameworks? Are you seeing those bottlenecks maybe now when preparing that pathway towards
yes,
fully renewable energy mix in Serbia?
As I mentioned, we prepare and adopt practically all regulation in that sector. We start with feed-in tariffs in 2009. Now we adopted new regulation, very similar to all other European countries. Now we are in process of not use that previous feed-in tariff system, but system of auction to give right to producer of electrical energy to connect to the grid and to build that facility. But of course, we have many problems in that way. Maybe one of the problem is that similar, again, like all other countries in the region, we have we had and we now have one big electrical producer, national electrical producer. In our case, this is Electric Power Company of Serbia. They produce almost all electricity who is enough for Serbia. And this is national company. They employ 35,000 people, and all changes in that area, if you want to change the production of electricity in Serbia, they have big influence on that company. Because of that, this is political, economical, social problem, and you must look on that for all this side, not only to increase of to produce electricity from renewable energy. Also, we have many problems with the NGO lately because I couldn't say why, but they start to fight against the small hydropower plants. There were few bad investors in that area. They make a lot of damage in that area where they start to build hydropower plants, and after that, now we practically have moratorium on building of small hydropower plants in Serbia.
Thank you, Milos. Thank you for sharing those insights, very specific to share with us what are those challenges that you face on various levels, especially also when it gets to some type of renewable energy. It's also, of course, hydro. This is why we're having this event on a water and energy nexus. We will come back to you, Milos, about the basin level planning. I know that you have some interesting thoughts to share with us on Drina Basin a little later, but let's first hear from Central Asian countries, from our experts from Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan. I would like to start with Tatiana Vedeva. I think that Tatiana, given number of projects that you worked on in Kyrgyzstan, also given energy mix that Kyrgyzstan has similar to Tajikistan, and maybe you can little develop on what we heard from Margalita and Milos and share with us what are similarities, what are differences, maybe you're facing even similar challenges to what we heard from Milos. Tatiana, floor is yours.
Yes, Eva, thank you. I did find similarities, especially to what Milos has been saying. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, very well, thanks.
So we also have one large producer of electrical energy. In fact, about 50% of our primary energy is hydro. So it can be considered renewable. If we're talking about electricity production, over 90% is produced by large hydro, 1.5% by small hydro, which are like in a these are mostly leftover from the Soviet times. We have very few new projects due to underdevelopment of the legal base. As I said, the similarity is that we do have a large producer, but we also have an additional difficulty in that we have a tariff problem related to our political instability. We have very low tariff for electricity, which is about 1 cent per kilowatt hour. And it is below the production value, below what you need to pay to produce and deliver electricity to our houses, to our homes. So basically our energy sector is is unprofitable and it's losing money every minute. So that is why our large producer is opposed to renewable energy, because of course renewable energy, to be feasible economically, we need a bit more than even the large hydro that they're using. This is the largest challenge actually, is the political instability and related tariff policy of the government. Of course, we have other problems, is legislative underdevelopment and low awareness of population, because there was an overwhelming, let's say, awareness policy is that the large hydro that have been left over from the Soviet time, and therefore they are free now, and the electricity should be free and shouldn't cost nothing. And when the government tried to introduce increase of electricity prices several times, we have got into civil unrest, and it led to revolutions. And we are at the moment in the middle of the third revolution in our country, which has not been induced by the tariff changes, but rather some political issues and lack of transparency of government as a general. So the general mistrust of population to government, of course, extends to the energy sector. So what we've been doing, and to assess how renewable energy is developing, is actually we have only 2 or 3 projects in the last 5 years. They were mostly small hydro, and they had great difficulties in actually getting into operation because of the pushback from the distribution companies that didn't want to pay out of their own pocket for the electricity that our renewable stations produced at a higher rate, at the feed-in tariff. So this is the actual on the ground. Then as to policies, we do have renewable energy law since 2008. In 2012, we had feed-in tariffs introduced. In 2019, we had new changes that have lowered feed-in tariffs to, let's say, about 3 cents per kilowatt hour for all renewables, universal, which is, of course, it doesn't reflect different costs and of building and operating the different plants. And we have been working for the last 2 years on developing the secondary legislation, like the rules of the game for renewable developers and the state and we tried to incorporate the interests of all the parties. And actually we faced up the necessity of bringing in people that represent the nexus, like from the agricultural side, from the water side, from energy side. We had to discuss the issues arising with them, and we had to, when we started this work, we thought, okay, well, let's just develop the rules of the game that relate to energy. But we had to dive into the land law, and we had to dive into water law, because this is all related and we have to take this into account. So I do think that this approach is very right. And just running a bit in front of the question, but I think this whole toolkit can be very useful for our country, especially because this is a systemic approach that help us develop faster, because we are now solving a problem as we come up, you know. Oh, we have to develop land legislation. Oh, let's do that. So we are not from the top.
So
you know,
what I'm hearing for you, you recognize that there is definitely potential in this cross-sectoral approach, and that you should certainly do it because you are doing it, as you said, when there is a challenge to address it. But unfortunately, there is still not this systemic approach. So now, if we go back to our toolkit, try to remind ourselves what Lucia showed us, that parallel tracks where we have the short-term look of implementing of the project, and then mid-term policy design and adaptation of the policy, and then adoption of the policy, and then strategic long-term planning. Are you saying that in Kyrgyzstan the approach is yet that there is like no long-term thinking in planning? Is this the challenge that you are facing, which is the main challenge?
Yeah. This is one of the challenges. Basically, to start from the beginning, we have not yet assessed the renewable energy potential for solar or for wind or for biogas. We do have some assessments which are done by NGOs and local experts, but it hasn't been commissioned from the state, and has not in many cases been approved by the state. So now Kyrgyzstan is in the process of joining IRENA, and they have one of the things that they're going to do the assessment for solar and wind potential. We do have some assessment for small hydro, which is like, again, a leftover of the Soviet times. It has to be done more thoroughly and taking into account the small basin planning. We did take this into account when developing the legislation now, because now to build it, to get the land, you have to actually be in line with the plans of the villages that surround this river. And in our legislation, actually the first use of the water, if we're talking about hydro, is for agriculture, for irrigation, and then only then the second priority is given to energy. So in some ways, other sectors are integrated. The priorities of other sectors are integrated into legislation, but it's really fragmented, you know, and it's very difficult to get people from one sector to understand that these sectors are related. They don't. Yeah, it's really, you have to start from zero to
Thank you, Tatiana. This is super interesting. Let's build on what you just said, and we will come back to you. Let's ask first Furug Usmonov and Jahar Matunova what they have to add. They're both from Central Asian countries, from Tajikistan and Kazakhstan. Furug, let's go first to you. Maybe you wish to develop what we just heard from Tatiana. Maybe you're sharing similar challenges. Maybe you have also already solved the problem, so you can maybe share some best practices with us immediately. And then I will invite Janar Mautonova, who will, from the water sector perspective, share with us some thoughts. Furug, would you like to come in now?
Good evening. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, and also see you. Hi.
Yeah. First of all, it's very nice to see a lot of familiar faces in these meetings, and at least read also a lot of familiar names. And I hope everybody is safe today. Regarding the first question in the panel about situation in Tajikistan of the source of energy. So in the first panel, I will make stress on only about main sources on hydro. We are not going for the renewable of small hydro. I will more tell about this issue on the second panel, but about big hydro, which is one of the main sources in Tajikistan, because according to current balance of energy, installed capacity in Tajikistan is around 6,300 megawatt, and 90% of the this source is from hydro based. Yes, in our countries, the situation with the renewable is slightly different. It's very much different, mostly because 90% of our energy is from the water. On the same base, if on the same issue, if you are looking to our national development strategy, which we adopted from 2016 until 2030, we will continue developing installed capacity. So the target of the government is to reach 10,000 megawatt of installed capacity. And again, from this installed capacity will be at least 90% will be from the water. Why we keep 10%? Why we keep we even targeted probably this 10% of diversification will be from solid fuels, because here we are facing with energy security. So we have to also be on the same safe side. For example, even in this year in Central Asian countries, we faced with the lack of the water. Sometimes, some years, we have a not the optimized scenario of the water. Moreover, we would on the position that in late July, usually in the summer period we are usually exporting a lot of the energy, but on July we was on the position to stop export of the energy for certain time because of the lack of the water. Yeah, in this case, that's why we are, to be on safe side, we are also trying to diversify our energy source, and by 2030, so from 10,000 megawatt will be 10% from solid fuels. In this case, so we are building, for example, new hydropower station, which is about 3,600, which also will come until 2030. So we targeted, and we are going for our targets. If we are saying about the problems, of course, the main problem in our country and probably in many other countries is investments. It's investments to the new hydropower, new installed capacities, investment to modernization of the existing hydropower station, which mainly was built up during Soviet Union. Also, one of the, if we come back to the target of our national strategy of development, one of the main target is also to increase the export of electricity up to 10 gigawatt, because up to 10 billion megawatts. And we also on the position to reach this strategy, because we are starting export electricity back from 2017 to Uzbekistan. We have export electricity to Afghanistan. We are building CASA 1000 project, which is export of electricity to Pakistan, and in this project also Kyrgyzstan is joining. We have another project which is now developing in Central Asia. It's rehabilitation to the Central Asia power system from 2022 or the maximum 2023. The Central Asian countries again will be on one energy system. And in this case, why I'm just briefing you about this cross-border cooperation, it means that yes, the main source in Tajikistan is still green energy. If we are exporting energy to Afghanistan and to Pakistan, where the main energy source is solid fuels, from solid fuels. So it's also saving. It will has a lot of ecological impact as well. So Yeah, it is brief to the answer to the first panel questions, probably.
No, thank you so much, and maybe we can develop a little bit more and already bridge to the second question. Let's hear first from Kazakhstan, and then I will come back to Furuk, both you and Tatiana. Do we have Janar Matunova, who is now speaking on behalf of Aliya Shalabekova? Are you still with us? I understand that you are here with us on the panel and then as an expert really from the water sector amongst the energy specialists. Very much unique. It would be interesting to hear from you if you can share with us some thoughts. How can renewable projects be more sustainable at a regional level to really optimize resources availability and take the advantage of the complementarities between those sectors? The floor is yours, Ms. Motanova.
Thank you, Eva. Good afternoon to everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you. I have been asked to deliver the speech of Ms. Aliya Shalabekova. She is the national focal point of Kazakhstan to the Water Convention. Unfortunately, Aliya couldn't join to the meeting because of very urgent commitments. And so now I would like to deliver her speech regarding the Nexus activities in Kazakhstan at the regional level. So it is related to the water, energy, and sectors.
Thank you.
Thank you. Water availability with the appropriate quality is a key factor for improving the well-being of the world's population and the key parameter for sustainable development. In Central Asia, water is a key to generate sustainable economic development for all countries. Sustainable and safe development of countries can only be reached through systematic transboundary cooperation based on mutual trust and understanding. Since independence, the countries of Central Asia have created good institutional and legal framework for the development of transboundary water cooperation. It allowed countries to maintain good neighborly relations and prevent conflicts in the most difficult economic situations. However, there are a number of issues to address. Countries face the contemporary global challenges such as shortage of water resources, the negative impact of climate change on the environment, population growth, degradation of ecosystems, etc. The situation is exacerbated by the lack of close integration between the various sectors of the economy, including the water and energy sectors. The interaction mechanisms of these two sectors of economy developed and successfully operated during the Soviet period do not meet today's realities, and new financial and economic approaches have not been developed yet. In this light, Kazakhstan is promoting the initiative to create a sustainable regional mechanism for use of water and the energy resources of the region, which takes into account the economic interests of all stakeholders and corresponds to the current economic realities. At the 11th summit of the leaders of the states, founders of the International Fund for the Saving the Aral Sea, held in 2018 in Turkmenistan, the first president of Kazakhstan, Nursultan Nazarbayev, made a proposal to return to the issue of creating International Water and Energy Consortium. In support of this proposal, in 2011, Kazakhstan initiated a dialogue between the countries of Central Asia at the Astana Economic Forum. A high-level panel session on topic water as a factor for economic growth and security in Central Asia was organized at the platform of IF. The high-level representatives of the ministries and departments from 5 Central Asian countries representing sectors like economy, water and agriculture, energy, environment, as well as the heads of the strategic institutions under the presidents and governments of Central Asian countries participated in the session. The dialogue was initiated to identify the national needs of the countries and vision of water as a factor of economic growth and security in the regional context. At the session, the parties shared views on what mechanism of water use can meet the economic needs of countries and how to ensure effective interaction of countries on the integrated use of water and energy resources, and how to effectively use water resources potential for the economic growth of countries. At the session, Kazakhstan put forward an initiative to develop a strategic vision of Central Asia on the joint use of water and energy resources, with consideration of principle of sharing economic benefits by all countries from the joint use of water and energy resources. So considering that the creation of this regional mechanism is a complex process that requires a comprehensive approach and the participation of specialists from all interested sectors of the economy, it was proposed to start developing the concept step by step. So this work is expected to be carried out with the mandatory participation of experts of economy, energy, water, environment sectors, as well as with the involvement of strategic development institutions. Kazakhstan's initiative received the support of international partners, including Switzerland, the European Union, the World Bank, which supported the panel session during the Astana Economic Forum. And this event was the first step towards developing a common vision for water security in Central Asia. As a follow-up to the initiative announced during this IF panel session, the government of Kazakhstan, jointly with the government of Switzerland, called the governments of Central Asian countries to join the process of developing this joint vision. The countries were invited to conduct a number of technical exchanges to specify the key elements of the common vision, to bring the agreed components of the vision to a wider audience at the World Economic Forum in Davos, and then at the next meeting of the leaders of the Central Asian countries. The governments of Uzbekistan, Tajikistan supported this initiative and then appointed the experts for this work. Kyrgyzstan also expressed its readiness to participate in the dialogue of countries. We hope that Kazakhstan's initiative to develop the common vision will be further developed and the certain results will be achieved. An expert work has been launched recently under the Blue Peace Initiative, supported by the government of Switzerland, on developing recommendations on economic policies and institutional reforms that could create a solid economic basis for effective and rational management of water resources of Central Asia. So that is in short from my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Janar. Thank you for sharing the intervention. It's a pity that Aliya Shalabekova couldn't join, but thank you for stepping in and doing a great job. I would invite now again Tatiana and Faruk. Let's stay focused a little bit longer on Central Asia. It's fantastic to hear from Kazakhstan how Kazakhstan is taking action, mobilizing other countries in Central Asia on closer cooperation on transboundary and regional cooperation on this important water energy topic. Let's go back to Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. We don't need to travel too far. We stay in Central Asia. Tatiana, would you like to maybe share a little bit more from your experience, what you have experienced on a basin level planning to support renewable energy projects in Kyrgyzstan? And I would like to after invite Faruk to share some more thoughts on basin level planning from Tajikistan. Tatiana, maybe let's first hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. I can just share some thoughts on the basin level planning because we are part of SED basin, which goes then to Aral Sea, and so the thing is that during the Soviet times, we were in a closed energy ring, which supposed that we were saving up water in our Toktogul dam, which is our main dam from which we produce electricity from large hydro. We were supposed to save it and save it until spring, and then to release it to downstream countries so that they can use it for agriculture. In return, other countries were supposed to provide us, in the ring, were supposed to provide us with energy, which we were foregoing by keeping the water in the dam. With the breakup of the Soviet Union, these agreements disintegrated and changed, and we've had some conflicts with Uzbekistan, which were around, well, there were some conflicts based on how much the water should cost, how much the electricity should cost, and all this. So this is a very sensitive issue. And of course, we have to plan, we have to go back to basin level planning. And this is actually before this integrated approach that took into account energy and agriculture and water. We need now to come back, not maybe to the same level of agreements, to different agreements, but we need to evaluate and plan how to use available resources, water resources on our side, and energy resources on sides of other countries to achieve the best results for our populations, for our planet.
Fantastic. Yes, this is exactly what we want, why we want to use the toolkit and see how it can be even sharpened somewhere. So I hope that, Tatiana, we can continue working closely together so you can help us how we can make it even sharper, for example, of Kyrgyzstan. Furuk, would you like to come in now to maybe share some thoughts? Tatiana already provided some nice segue. She mentioned nicely Aral Sea Basin, and this is also something what I understood you would like to shed some light on it as well.
Yes, as our Kazakh colleagues also mentioned, that water cooperation in Central Asia has a big history. So we are already starting to have a water cooperation during Soviet Union, and our Kyrgyz colleagues also mentioned about some difficulties which can arise during the, let's say, when the countries will talk about how much water to use and how much energy might supply. Yeah, I mean, it's from their precedents, their experience. Let's say until 2018, Tajikistan did not have the dam which and basin which might for the, let's say, whole year regulation, like if our Kyrgyz colleagues mentioned about the Toktagul dam. So Toktagul dam, it's the dam which might be used for water for several years. Current dam in Tajikistan, which is the current biggest dam in Tajikistan, Nurak hydropower station, Nurak dam, it's not for the annual using. I mean, we have to use water every year. We cannot save it and use it during, let's say, whole periods. And that's why we are now currently also build up in a new dam, which probably in the future also might help us for the properly regulation of the rivers and water supply and energy supply in the region. Of course, I mean, that's of course this dam also building by all international regulation and which with share of Tajikistan on the water supply. And so again, I'm backing to what say our colleagues from the Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. It has a good experience and it has also bad experience. So we have to take into consideration all possible scenarios.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing more thoughts and helping us to even better understand the situation and the actions taking in place in Tajikistan. I would like to travel now back to Serbia and give floor to Miloš Banjac and continue to further develop the role of basin level planning to support renewable energy deployment. Miloš was very much involved with colleagues from Belgrade, but also from Serbia, but also from Bosnia and Herzegovina on developing and working with us on the GERE project. Miloš, would you like to come in now and share with us some thoughts about that project? What was your experience? How it helped with planning in the Southeastern Europe, in Serbia, and how those tools provided with UNECE helped you in your policy planning? Thank you, Miloš.
Okay, so probably you know that 20 years ago, we have civil war in this area. So that was very bad, and we still not solve all our political problems. I think that people can live very in good relation, but I still think that there is some political problems between countries. You mentioned the Drina. This is our border river between Bosnia and Herzegovina and Serbia. And this is, according to result of this Nexus project, the last and the biggest unused hydro potential in Europe. Unfortunately, we still not find a way on political level to use that two governments, Bosnia and Serbia, to use that potential. But I really believe that in the future we will find a way to solve this problem. I really believe that with help of international organization, with this tool, with the other project who will show our main making decision. I'm also in some way making decision, but not top decision maker. So I really believe that they must find this is necessary to use all renewable potential local renewable potential, and if it's that potential between two countries, that is necessary to use that. I mentioned that we prepared that our integrated energy and climate plan, and we will put that plan using of potential of Drina River, because this is the between 3 or 4 our biggest project in hydropower, which we can make in Serbia. So I will use this opportunity to again say that we need international help, international organization, non-government organization, but constructive help to show us that we have potential but not use, and that is that must be our goal, not something obligation, but something what will help us in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Miloš. Thank you for sharing your first-hand experience and telling us how we can join forces, how we, UNECE, can help, how other organizations, some are also on this workshop. I can just reiterate what Miloš shared. We need to join forces and see how we can cooperate and work together to exploit in a sustainable way the resources. Thank you, Miloš. I will leave you now. I know that you're already late for your the other meeting. Thank you for staying a little longer and sharing your views with us. Let's travel. Thank you. Bye-bye. Let's travel now back to Georgia. We heard from Margarita Rabid, a very interesting intervention, the status about renewable energy, how Georgia is taking an integrating planning approach when deploying renewable energy. Now let's also look a little deeper into the basin level approach, basin level planning that you are conducting in Georgia. You also had a project with UNECE a couple of years ago. Maybe Margarita, now is the right time if you would like to come in back and develop on your nice introduction and intervention that you gave us at the beginning.
Thank you, Iva. Thank you so much. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, and I introduced some brief information about planning support and renewable development, energy and deployment. Concerning to the renewable energy project and sustainability on the region level, In my personal opinion, it's dependent on the complex approach, and namely on the major stakeholders on the regional level and among and which are renewable energy projects. Investors should be agreed on the approach and how to use and management available resources. As you know, and in 2015, and series of participatory intersectoral assessment of the Nexus and considering and water resources, energy and land and agriculture and ecosystem, and was carried out under the UNECE and Water Convention. Here is in Alazani and Ghanaian basin, Georgia and Azerbaijan, the pilot basin to test the assessment and methodology. The finding of the study and wasn't very interesting as it showed and how it is all interdependent. I think, and the study is very useful and for both countries, and because we are talking about and water resources, what is the potential, how to implementation, but also it's very important how can it basin level and planning support and renewable energy and deployment. So that's why in this study, and it's very popular, it's very useful for my countries, for the Ministry of Economy and Sustainable Development, and Alazani Ghanaian based and the pilot and basis is to test assessment and methodology. Also, it's very important, and we think and finding of the study was very interesting and issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Margalita, for also sharing this positive experience that you had and how the specific publication and tool developed together with UNECE helped. We hope that this particular toolkit that we are presenting to disseminating results today will also be used in your further planning.
Yeah.
I would like to, we still have little bit time, so I would like to invite the panelists to focus on the last question if they wish to share some thoughts. I would also like to invite everybody on the panel if you have some specific questions. I was monitoring chat but haven't noticed. It's difficult also sharing slides and chat, maybe I missed. Unfortunately, I couldn't notice if somebody raised hand, so please raise your hand if you would like to get a floor for a question. We still have about 10-15 minutes, and then we'll go back to the wrap up and next steps. Margalita, since we still have you online, and I noticed that you haven't muted, so maybe you would like to share now finally also some thoughts how this toolkit can be applied in your example, like in Georgia, for example. I know that you have some interesting thoughts that you wanted to share.
Yeah, thank you, Eva. Yeah, why not? And currently there is no such toolkit and or complex approach and when a planning policy or project in my country. Therefore, this toolkit and will be very useful for the government entities and responsible for energy, environmental and climate and other relevant organizations when preparing a strategy, designing a future sustainable policy. Also, it's important to highlight the structure of the toolkit and that has three parallel tracks for the renewable energy deployment processes and strategic planning, and long-term and policy decided adoption and medium terms and project and development, short terms. As you can see, it covers all the major aspects of the successful promotion of renewable energy deployment. And since I am representing a Ministry of Economy and which covers energy issues as well, I would like to say that this toolkit should be very useful for us and from the standpoint of development of renewable energy projects, since this cross and sectorial influence in this sector is huge. As I already mentioned, and Georgia is very and rich and with hydro resources here, especially we have 26,100,000 rivers, and from which up to 300 are feasible for renewable energy projects. As you can see, there is an enormous potential and for this tool to be used and to contribute into more sustainable development. From the other hand, then strategy and planning and policy design is also as a very crucial aspect. With all these strategies and our policies, and we do and show the investors and the priorities of national policies and the way and where they should invest. Therefore, our approach and as a government and should be clear and should lead to a more sustainable energy use of resources. Trust such kind of toolkits is good and friend of policymaker when planning and sectors and future development and achieving countries and sustainable development goals, since here is the lack of energy legislation and ever less raising. Additionally, it should be taken into account and also an energy price. It wasn't brief from my side, and Iva.
Thank you so much. No, fantastic. Thank you for sharing thoughts, and definitely there is potential to continue collaborating on this very important topic, and there is a lot of room also that we act together and make it, those tools even more targeted or tailored for the specific needs of the countries. We unfortunately don't have Milos and Konstantin anymore online, but we still have Furuk and Tatiana. If you like to share some final thoughts, how this toolkit can be applied, what you like it about it, maybe what can be improved. And I also invite anybody else if somebody would like to share some final thoughts. So,
Eva, if I can, it's from Armenia, Diana.
Yes, please, by all means. Yes.
Sorry, I don't deeply study the toolkit, but I want to ask if there is also any support for ecosystem services calculation when the ecosystem approach have to be applied, giving any preferences or planning purposes. So because ecosystem approach is underlined is also in Armenian policy for Paris Agreement, but real measuring indicators for this ecosystem services or ecosystem approach are not yet. It is very important how is political statement, but a real application is not so easy.
Thank you, Diana, for highlighting what is also important to consider. We will look into it, and maybe I can invite my colleagues Annuka and Lucia if we are maybe considering in the later stages of the project and our activity. But we are always on a hunt to understand better what would be useful from the regions. So thank you, Diana. I noticed that we have also Sergei Tulinov, who would like to speak, Tatiana and Furuk. Furuk, let's start with you because you're already about to start. Then we give the floor to Tatiana and then Sergei Tulinov.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, again, toolkit, as already mentioned from my colleagues, it's quite very interesting. But of course, there's also some issues. If we would like to adopt the toolkits, they have to respond to some very main questions. One of the issues which we are speaking about the toolkit as a cross-border cooperation. This is very challenge and a lot of issues. And you know, in one hand it's very challenging. On the other hand, if we are saying about the Central Asian countries, they're very good integrated already due to some Soviet past. So the water cooperation is very high level, the energy cooperation, but again, and I see that Sergei also raising hand, so he can confirm these words that, for example, when we are with UNECE developing this energy connectivity issues for our region, right? So it's a lot of questions, it's a lot of difficulties. It's about if we are speaking about the technical cooperation, or when we are speaking about cross-border cooperation, energy supply, for example, even some small project in Tajikistan and Uzbekistan, which took us 35 million, yeah, just to back Tajikistan back to the Central Asia power system. When we working with the CAL 7000, it's about 1 billion projects. So it's a lot of question about this financial aspect, about the investment, about the technical cooperation, about the, and what already also mentioned about how to use water and on behalf of water and on if we are speaking that on the barter aspects, which was during the Soviet Union, which adopted Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan in recent years. So there are a lot of other questions which we have to take into consideration, and it's for me it's kind of course I cannot see it on the toolkits, but if we develop it, why not? And it should be answer to these very, very challenging questions.
Thank you. Thank you for it. Let's hear from Tatiana and then from Sergey.
Yes, I just wanted to know that what I found particularly interesting for me, I'm closer to the project implementation or maybe policy development, but in project implementation, I see this financial diversification part, which I think would be very important for us because, as I said, one of the main impediments to development of renewable energy projects in Kyrgyzstan is the low tariff. We just have 3 cents for any kind also per kilowatt hour. So if we can somehow get the financing or develop schemes or have the examples of something similar being implemented, let's say integrated agricultural PV, how much it cost, what was the project, as many details as possible, so that we can, on the basis of this example, calculate our own probable projects. Floating solar, maybe not a large scale, small scale. So anything that would mean financial diversification or getting additional income streams like maybe pumping water. If you have these examples, if you could populate your toolkit with these examples, it would be very useful for us because it would, would help our investors.
Thank you. Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you, Tatiana. Sergey, would you like to come in now?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Eva. Thanks everyone for this really great presentations. I'm speaking from another part of the world, from Bangkok. It's almost 9 p.m. here, but I just cannot leave without, first of all, without saying hello to all my good friends who is attending this this training, this workshop, who is among the participants, organizers, and distinguished panelists. So greetings from Bangkok, and we'll really miss you all here in Bangkok. And second, of course, I'd like to thank Lucia for this excellent presentation. So I'm working for UN Commission for Asia and the Pacific, and we investing in water, food, energy nexus topic as well. So you may be a bit ahead, but Europe has always been ahead in terms of utilizing and also using some innovations, in particular in this area. So we are following, and I would much appreciate if you could share some more information about this toolkit, about maybe some examples of its utilization, and also I hope it can be utilized, it can be replicated in Asia Pacific countries. So there is, although it's been led by Water Convention, if I'm not mistaken, so there is no requirement to be party of a Water Convention to implement this, or to at least to explore the ways how this toolkit can be implemented in Asia. So anyway, we are open for dialogue, for cooperation among two brothership commissions. So that we would be really interested in getting more information about this toolkit. Thanks. Thank you very much, and thank you to everyone for really excellent organization of and really interesting presentations. Otherwise, I would just not stay here that long and that late. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Sergey. Yes, we are always excited to see how we can join forces with ESCAP. So by all means, I will also give now briefly floor to Anuka. But I can only say that we would be super interested to see how the toolkit can be also disseminated in your part of the world. So let's explore from here by all means. Anuka, would you like to come in and maybe respond also a little bit on ecosystem, and then I will wrap up. I think we have only 9 minutes, so we need to speed up.
Okay, thanks. Thanks a lot for the able facilitation, and thanks. Really appreciate Sergey Tulinov your engagement in participating in this discussion at this late hour. But yes, indeed, as you noted, like this toolkit can be applied anywhere at different levels, and even though the convention provided a framework for these activities and reached out to the water management community. Of course, this is by no means limited to the water convention, and let's say the transboundary aspect is only one dimension of it. So yeah, we'd be very glad to collaborate in promoting its application or whatever fits well into your plans in ESCAP. Then I wanted to just react on this ecosystem services, that this toolkit publication as it is now, it includes a certain number of tools, but it's not complete. It's really an open framework that hopefully can evolve. So for this like indicators for assessing ecosystem services, for example, we think it's a topic on which the toolkit could be strengthened. And of course, there are specific Nexus tools, if you like strategic environmental assessment, environmental impact assessment, which provide frameworks for assessing ecosystem aspects. But it really depends on the type of project what would be needed, and then of course related to development of hydropower projects or related strategy or policy, this environmental flows and ecological flows is of course one important aspect, and there are lots of different methodologies for assessing the environmental requirements, and these either the ecosystem based or the hydrology or hydraulics based or integrated ones, but there's space to develop this further. So thanks for that comment. Thanks for bringing ecosystems up.
Thank you, Anuka, for stepping in and helping with the technical details. So thank you all for participating. Let me go quickly through my notes and try to summarize. For me, it has been very insightful and interesting discussion with you all. I think we all agree that this toolkit is useful for our countries. We heard from a number of the countries that the toolkit can support renewable energy policymakers in identifying and addressing synergies and trade-offs through parallel tracks of renewable energy development process, what we heard also from Lucia. And if we think about the current context in which we are operating, this tool is more important than ever in the context of ongoing energy transition, but also the COVID-19 pandemic. It's timely to highlight the importance of the cross-sector, multi-stakeholder approach to manage resources effectively, including the financial resources. So we want to continue engaging with you on this coordinated water energy approach, which is necessary and which is also beneficial and effective for the climate action. We heard today from a number of member states that highlighted that there is an urgent need for continuous awareness raising exercise on all levels to manage energy water linkages in a way that is addressing developmental and climate goals. We also heard from countries that there is a need for transboundary cooperation and coordination, it really is necessary to exploit the regional synergies and ensure sustainability of renewable energy deployment. So we really want to continue working with you all together in strengthening the transboundary cooperation, as we see it as an important step, pivotal as a step in advancing together climate action. We heard today that UNECE is having, I want to share this one, very good already on a number of water energy nexus projects across a number of sub-regions that we covered all together today. And we want to continue cooperating with you together to continue to hear from you how our tools can be even more concrete to address your needs, to help you to bridge your policy gaps. So I want to thank you all for participating and invite you all to stay in touch with us and engage in our water energy nexus activities. We are the team and we will continue working together over our environment division and sustainable energy division under the UNECE. This week you can already engage with us. You heard from Lucia on 22nd and 23rd of October, so on this Thursday and Friday. There is a task force on the water, food, energy ecosystem nexus taking place. Under the Convention for the Protection of the Use of Transboundary Water Courses and International Lakes. The link I shared with you earlier via the invitation for this workshop. So please join us if you're interested and continue to be engaged in these discussions. Also under the Energy Committee on Sustainable Energy, this topic, Water Energy Nexus, will be also covered. Unfortunately, due to current slightly different way of running the committee due to the current circumstances with the pandemic, we will not have a lot of time. That's why we organized this workshop in preparation for the task force this week, but also in preparation for the Committee on Sustainable Energy. But we invite you all to also participate in Energy Week, which will take place from the 23rd until the 25th of November later this year. We will soon circulate some invitations. So finally, I would like to thank you all once again. Here on the slide, you have our contacts. I look forward to continue working with you. If you have some specific questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and please follow our website and stay tuned to all the activities that we cover on this very interesting and important topic, water and energy nexus. Thank you all. I don't know if anybody from my colleagues wishes to take the floor now as well. I would like to thank again to the panelists for taking the challenge and sharing very interesting insights from the countries.
Thank you, Eva. Maybe just a couple of final words. Well, to thank Eva and Anuka and Lucia for organizing this workshop. Would also like to thank colleagues from UNDP Armenia for providing the flat platform and organizing the interpretation. And our thanks go to the interpreters. And of course, many thanks to the panelists and to the participants of this event. Thank you for your participation, and we look forward to our future work. Eva, back to you.
No, the concluding remarks were perfect, so nothing to add. Thank you, Oleg. Unless Anuka and Lucia would like to come again. And yeah, and thank you, colleagues from the UNDP from Armenia. Thanks for your help in making this workshop possible.
Thank you and welcome as usual.
Thank you. Well, with this, I would like to close this workshop. We stay all in touch and we continue working on this important and exciting topic. So bye-bye all. Have a good night.
Thank you, Eva.
And nice afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.